The February issue of Down East magazine is now out, and the cover is going to catch your eye and hold it. We're going to talk about that and a lot more because Will Grunwald, the editor-in-chief of Down East, is with us here to discuss what is in this issue. Thanks for coming in. Good to have you here, Will.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Let's start off with a story that I liked so much. You came up with the idea of asking a bunch of well-known Mainers about their favorite bookstores. What did you come up with here?
Yeah, I think this is a fun package. It's predicated loosely on the fact that Maine has the second most bookstores per capita in the country at last count, I believe, which is a nice little accomplishment.
That's an impressive figure.
We're a literary bunch, you know?
And a lot of the small independent stores, which are the places that people really get attached to.
Exactly. And so we had the idea to start asking around and seeing if we could get some notable Maine writers to talk to us about where they like to go to buy books.
And you scored pretty well in that department.
We did all right. People are happy to talk about where they shop for their books. We found out that Stephen King and Lois Lowry both love the same bookshop in Bridgeton. Governor Janet Mills, who is a poet in her own right, got to talk about her favorite shop in Farmington. Morgan Talty, who's a rising star in the lit world, is up in Bangor and has a favorite shop. Yeah, it was a really wonderful mix.
Yeah, it is a good mix. Let's move on to a really dazzling piece. Ben Williamson is a photographer who's worked with Down East a lot over the years, and he and a bunch of photographer buddies have a tradition. What is it that they do each year?
Yeah, so they've started to make an annual trip to Baxter State Park. Which a lot of us know very well in the summer. Very few of us experience it in the winter, in large part because it's very hard to access in the winter.
Yeah.
So they ski and or snowshoe in as a group. They spend several days just doing what they do best, photographing the park, bringing back some really incredible images in the process.
What did you, as the editor, think when you saw these shots that he had for you?
They're a no-brainer to run in the magazine.
Did you just kind of go, jackpot?
I could spend a lot of time just staring at these photos.
Exactly. Well put. And part of the appeal is that most of us know we're never going to do what these guys are doing. So they really take us to a place that we won't see on our own.
But a little part of me wants to give it a shot.
I know what you mean. And 207's videographer, Kirk Craddy, whom our viewers kind of know, has done a winter expedition of his own to Katahdin. We're going to tell you about that a little bit later in this half hour. Let's move on to one more article in the February issue. It's a piece by a professor and writer named Joe Moninger, who in 2021 was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. What did he do when he heard this news? And he was a non-smoker. We should mention that. Terminal lung cancer and a non-smoker.
Yeah, that's right. So Joe made the decision after his diagnosis to live out whatever time he wound up having left in a small cabin on the Maine coast, way down east in Pembroke. Late last year, he sent us an essay about that experience. He has since passed earlier this month. And, of course, the essay deals with a deeply sad topic.
It's a really haunting and powerful piece about a man who knows that he has only a limited time left and sort of his reckoning with the world and making peace with the world, and the part of living on the coast of Maine, how that has brought him some peace.
Yeah, and he's, throughout the piece that he writes, he's so clear-eyed about his own condition and still so sensitive to the world around him that I think it really sort of transcends sadness. It's just a beautiful piece of writing.
Yeah, it's a really powerful and in its way, in a curious way, an uplifting piece, because you get a deep sense of his humanity and his love of life. It's really something that people ought to check out.
Yeah,
the whole issue is really good. Will,
thanks,
thank you for coming in. Again, it's the February issue of Down East magazine. It is on stands now. Stick around. We'll be back with more of 207